Hello, my sweet stitchers. So happy you're here. In this video, we'll learn how to make the doll's arms. It's a project you can use to add to any of your creations. Arms for all purposes. To make the arms, you'll need the skin-colored yarn you've chosen for your doll, a sewing needle, scissors, a marker for marking stitches, which can be a thinner strand of any other color, and stuffing for your amigurumi. Before we begin, it's important to review the abbreviations and equivalents we'll be using throughout the course. We'll look at them in English and Spanish. The patterns we'll be presenting will have the following structure. The first thing we'll see is a number, which refers to the round we're going to work on. If we see two numbers separated by a slash, that means that round is repeated from the round indicated by the first number to the round indicated by the second number. For example, if the pattern says this, it means we'll do the same thing from round 1 to round 10. Next, we have a colon. This is the symbol we use to indicate that what follows the colon is what we should do in that round or those rounds. After the colon, we'll see what the pattern tells us to do. If after this we have two diagonal slashes together and an X with a number, this indicates that we must repeat the pattern as many times as that number specifies. For example, in this case, we must repeat the indicated pattern 6 times. And finally, we have a number in parentheses. This indicates the number of stitches that round should have. Now take a look at the abbreviations. If you've already worked with patterns, you won't need to write them down or memorize them. Let's get started.
Grab your yarn and a cup of tea. There's magic in the making. Just wait and see. From a little stitch to a friendly face, we're finding joy in every space. Count your rows and check your yarn. A little sheep from a tiny farm. A magic ring and a steady hand. The cutest toys in all the land. Stitch by stitch, we're making friends. With Pulga makes the fun never ends. Poke it up, pull it through. Make it amigurumi just for you. Soft and sweet, handmade with care. Pulga makes is always there.
The arms are made the same way. What will distinguish the right arm from the left arm is where we place our thumb. We'll place them on the side corresponding to the index finger, inward on one side of one arm, and inward on the other side of the other arm. I used 4-ply cotton yarn and a 1.75mm crochet hook. We'll start by leaving the starting strand quite long, because we'll use it later to make the little finger. We'll start by chaining 10 stitches. The stitches in this chain should be fairly tight. Starting with the second stitch, we work back by making 4 slip stitches. But it's important to keep in mind where we're going to insert the crochet hook. To make the slip stitches we'll be working on each finger, insert the crochet hook only through the back loop of the stitch. Only through this loop. This way, we'll make sure the fingers look rounded instead of flat. So, starting with the second stitch, from the stitch on my hook, I begin working downward, slipping 4 stitches. We've got the first finger. This chain that's hanging loose here will be the one I use to make the little finger later. Now let's make a chain of 6 stitches. Starting with the second stitch, we work back by making 5 slip stitches along the chain. Now we'll make the last finger, starting with a chain of 5 stitches. And working back with 4 slip stitches starting from the second stitch. We have 3 fingers plus the chain of the little finger. Next, we make a chain to separate the hook from the work. Otherwise, it will be impossible to turn it to continue working. It should look something like this. From here on, we'll work with single crochets. We'll work back toward the other side, making 1 increase on the first finger, 1 single crochet between the 2 fingers, 1 single crochet on the next finger, 1 single crochet between the 2 fingers, 1 single crochet on the finger, and 1 single crochet in the next chain stitch. On the fingers, we'll work single crochet stitches through these loops that stand up on each finger. Here, where we'll make the increase, here, and here. And when we work single crochet stitches in the spaces between the fingers, we'll work the single crochet through the gap between the fingers. Here, here, and here. I'll work through the chain stitch that comes next. We should end up with 7 stitches. Remember that on the first finger we make 1 increase. We turn the work over and make 1 increase at the spot where the little finger will go, right here where the chain is, and work 1 single crochet in each finger and 1 single crochet in each space between the fingers. Pick up the stitches on the fingers from here. Pick up the stitches between the fingers from here. You should have 7 stitches left again. We'll try to work through the stitches from the bottom up, but if you can't, that's okay. Just do whatever you can. We should have 14 stitches in total, 7 stitches on one side and 7 stitches on the other. From here, we'll start working in the round with these 14 stitches. Now we'll work 14 single crochets over these 14 stitches, working in the round the entire time. If you're not sure where to start, count back 14 stitches to find the starting point for the 14 single crochets. You can mark the stitch so you don't lose track of it. Pay close attention at the corner, because the stitches will be tight and twisted, but they're still there. If you can't insert the hook through both strands of those stitches, just work through one. It's okay. I'm going to mark the first stitch as I always do, using a thinner strand of yarn so I don't lose count of the 14. We continue working in the round, and the next 3 rounds are as follows. The best way I've found to make decreases is to take the front loop of one stitch and the front loop of the next, slip stitch through those 2 loops, keep 2 loops on the hook, and close them to form a single crochet. This way, I've turned those 2 stitches into 1. If your work is very tight and you can't pick up a loop from each of the stitches you're going to decrease, simply skip a stitch and work the next one, and decrease that way. If you can't do it the first way, it means your work is quite tight, and the stitch you skip won't be noticeable. Now we pause. We remove the hook without closing the loop, because we're going to make the little finger. We find the second stitch in the chain, insert the hook, and pull out the strand we'd left long there. This is the first of the 3 slip stitches we need to make. We'll make them the same way as before, through the strands below. We pull upward to hold on to the rest of the thread, which we'll use to thread the needle. Since this finger is loose, we'll need to sew it in place. We'll make as many stitches as necessary between the hand and the finger to ensure it's secure and firm. When finished, find the strand closest to the one you're using to tie a knot right there. Make a small, neat knot so it isn't noticeable. Insert the needle through the knot and pull it out through the opening in the hand. The little finger is on the straight part of the hand, and the index finger is on the part of the hand with a protrusion, which is the side where we'll place the thumb. As we can see in this hand, the little finger is on the straight part and the thumb is on the protruding part, on one side of one hand and on the other side of the other hand. We reinsert the hook and continue working in the round, keeping in mind that the rest of the arm pattern is as follows. Let's remember how important it is to stuff the pieces, such as the arms and legs, as we progress with the work. These are long, slender pieces that will be very difficult to stuff once they're finished. It's best not to overstuff the arms so they don't become too stiff. We'll stuff them just enough so they hold their shape, no more than that. To make sure there isn't too much stuffing, rotate the piece while applying pressure. This will squeeze out any excess. This way, we ensure it has just the right amount of stuffing. If nothing comes out, it means it has the necessary amount of stuffing. The hand should have only a small ball of stuffing, just to round out its shape a little. Once we're done, we'll invisibly bind off this piece so that the edge is even and smooth. This will make it easier to attach the arm to the body, but you can use whichever technique you prefer to even out the edge. Cut the thread long and pull the stitch tight to close it. Thread the needle with the long end of the thread. What we're doing with this technique is eliminating this difference in height and creating an even edge all around the contour. This is the last stitch worked. We'll skip the next one, and on the next one, we'll insert the needle through both strands of the stitch, from front to back. At that last stitch we worked on, but only through its back loop, we pass the needle through again from front to back. A new stitch is formed, which mimics the one we skipped. We adjust and arrange it until that new stitch is the same size as the other stitches along the edge. On the inside, we find a strand, make a stitch, and pass the needle back through that same strand to tie a knot, so that what we just made doesn't come undone. We now have an even edge. Next, we'll make and attach the thumb. Here too, we start by leaving the starting strand long. Then we make a chain of 4 stitches. Just like before, we turn and continue working from the second stitch. We'll make 2 slip stitches, and on the last stitch, we'll slip 2 stitches together in the same loop. Always pick up the strands from below. When we're done, we also leave the final strand long. We pull it to close the stitch. We tie the ends together. We'll use these strands to sew the thumb to the hand. Let's see how. Thread the needle with one of the strands we had set aside. We'll sew the thumb on the opposite side from the little finger, about halfway down the palm. Starting from the edge a little way in on one side for one hand, and on the other side for the other hand, so that the thumbs face each other. If on this hand I've sewn the thumb on this side, on the other hand I'll sew the thumb on the other side. We position the thumb and insert the needle there. This is where the thumb should be placed. We'll make small stitches to attach the thumb to the hand. First the base, and then a few stitches on top so it rests slightly against the palm. When finished, find a small loop of thread close to where the needle came out so you can tie a small, neat knot. Thread the other end of the thread. Use it to create the curve in the palm as shown in this example. We'll make a few stitches from end to end to gather the hand and curve or fold it. When we achieve a curve we're happy with, we tie a knot and tuck the thread inside the hand. The thumbs should always be positioned opposite each other, facing outward and forward. And that wraps up the tutorial on how to make the doll's arms. What do you think of the idea? To move on to the next module, be sure to watch this video, where we'll learn how to make the doll's legs. And you'll get to see the cute socks she's wearing, complete with toes and heels. Thank you so much for watching the video, and see you in the next one. Bye!